Nigeria enters the festive season with renewed calls for peace, unity, and social cohesion. President Bola Tinubu has urged citizens to embrace the spirit of Christmas, reflecting on compassion, tolerance, and shared responsibility as the country navigates ongoing social and economic challenges. His message highlights the role of leadership in fostering harmony and encouraging communities to support one another during the season of hope. Well, joining us from Owerri to discuss the significance of the president's Christmas exhortations is Sam Amadi. He will examine how these messages resonate with Nigerians, the importance of promoting unity and solidarity, and the way citizens and leaders alike can translate festive reflections into meaningful action for national cohesion. Good afternoon, Dr. Amadi. Great to see you. Welcome to Newsday.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Of course. Now, when you listen to the president's Christmas message, we saw a lot of highlights on hope, sacrifice, and patience. Just wondering if this messaging is in sync with what Nigerians need to hear right now.
Well, clearly it is. I mean, this is a message expected at this time of the year. It's a message usually globally of hope, of forgiveness, of people, reaching out to one another, and a message about unity and a message about sacrifice. But again, the key thing is routine. People are used to these messages. What gives them credibility is actually what the people say and what they mean and what they do. So I think, yes, at this moment, the president is expected to charge Nigerians to do the best they can, live the best life they want to live, and reach out to each other. And again, on the backdrop of terrorism, of banditry, of recriminations, divisions, and messaging around Christian genocide, attack against Christians, it's a message expected. Maybe it should carry some indication of what will be done different and how the new year, maybe the new year message is supposed to be more clear around what actions and policies will sustain this new hope and will sustain this reconciliation and harmony that he preached.
And Dr. Amadi, the president spoke about hope in the midst of despair. How do you think his message resonates with the populace currently grappling with the high inflation from 2025 and, of course, the recent extension of the fiscal year into March of 2026?
I think it does not resonate at all, or at least not well with them. Again, if you are talking about the hardship, the people are going through a lot, and then there is the message also that they are going to be further, damnified with taxes whose legality and accuracy is not well known. We are expecting that in January, according to the new tax law, at least what is in the public domain, people, even those who are earning minimum wage, will start paying more, some up to 25% of earning. I think that's the kind of message that, the message fails in the face of the fear, the real fear people have about the new year. So I think that this is a message that maybe in different times will be hopeful, but in the context of what government is ruling out and the issues around fraud and the allegations and the comments about how if you technocrats are going to foist on ordinary people greater hardship in the year to come. So yes, the drop in fuel price, small drop made some sense. But then again, if you look at everything put together, I don't think the people are looking towards with great hope. Nevertheless, it's good to talk about hope as we close on the year. But then the message around more taxes, more difficult taxes, no relief on subsidies, no real coherent policy on social protection. It's one that, and of course, we're not seeing increase in rate of employment and the expectation that there will be more employment in the year to come and more income to household. Small businesses still struggling with overregulation, and now with tax system that takes more and not add much to them. That's really not the kind of context in which these messages will resonate, not they do not resonate.
Now, Dr. Amadi, when you look at the realities that Nigerians face, including you and I, looking at inflation, the depreciation of the naira, collapsing purchasing power, at what point does does the short-term pain term lose its relevance and we just shift to a probable admittance that it's just a failed policy?
Well, the great economist says, I think Gabriel, he says the problem with the long term is that at long term we are all dead. So oftentimes technocrats talk about short-term pain is going to be long-term benefit, but in the long term we are all dead. So right now, the results do not suggest that people should expect better outcome in the long term. So these policies have failed, and this is a problem. Oftentimes, policies are justified by political elites around theoretical framework. Okay, it makes sense. Oh, don't subsidize consumption. If you free subsidy funds, you're going to fuel it into production. And then the government talks about looking at the fact that they have got fiscal windfall. So they say, oh, states have got more allocation. But the problem is this, and those who don't understand political economy make the mistake of assuming that if you put more money in the hands of government, no matter the nature and the character of that government, it translates to better outcome for households. Now, oftentimes, those from the Friedman School of Economics always say, don't put the money in the hand of the government, put it in the hand of the people. So the idea that if you tax more, withdraw subsidy, make the state gets more money, then the people will be better off. People's government as proof is not always true. You have to look at what is the government doing with money. Where is the fiscal concentration? In productive activity, in drivers of human development, in education, agriculture, in healthcare, or even when your economy is growing. And people talk about GDP growth. Maybe we are doing slightly better in terms of growth. But the question is, what accounts for the growth? Now, if the growth, I will see from Korea, from China, that when the growth is driven by rural agriculture, that is smallholder agriculture, then it reduces inequality, improves income. So even GDP growth itself, it does not signal, that economy is well for the perspective of the citizens. And ultimately, if you look at the crisis of the budget, now we are hearing that budget underperformed. Even the revenue expectations were low by about 30 trillion. Are you talking about the fact that none of these budgets have been fully executed up to 30%? So the whole budget system, the idea that more money is coming in because we are tightening the news on the people, they are paying more for fuel, for electricity, for everything, and we're getting more money, doesn't add up. So at the end of the day, the Nigerian state seems bankrupt. The National Assembly talks about projects not funded, and if projects are not funded, it means that even the revenue side of it is not even balancing, and also the expenditure side of it is not adding to economic development. So ultimately, I think the policies failed. They might be well-intentioned, but we say, the road to hell is paved with good intention. There's need to really rethink the economic policy framework of this government. And the idea is to understand that you have to balance two books. You have to balance the physical books and also the social book. You have to look at not just how much you're saving from subsidy, but how much are you really saving in terms of productivity.
Exactly. How much do we save in terms of productivity? Now, the president made a specific plea for patience and discipline on the roads. In a country where infrastructure and law enforcement is often criticized, is this plea for individual discipline a fair ask or an abdication of state responsibility for road safety? What do you think?
I think that the state's job is also to help to improve social behavior and change social behavior. But the problem is that when the state is not coherent, when the state lacks legitimacy, much political, not legal, and when there's low trust, the ability to change behavior, whether through travel, road safety, and other forms of social behavior, becomes weaker. So ordinarily, Nigeria is ripe for moral, ethical orientation, social reprogramming, social reengineering. But you need a state that has sufficient public legitimacy, public trust, and then effective in messaging, and a small ton of lever can change behavior. So I think the Nigerian state should understand that changing behavior is not just about propaganda or some messages by National Intelligence Agency or the president. It calls for hands-on. It calls for engagement at multiple levels of social discourse, and also looking at narratives, and also helping leveraging from social media leaders and influencers and religious leaders. But the consistency and the coherence is the big deal here. That is what we are missing. You need to be coherent, you need to be consistent, you need to be able to push a message that citizens can embrace, and then you need to have legitimacy with them to influence how they behave. I think Nigeria is due for social engineering, especially with road safety, with several things, with how we manage our systems, institutions, how we protect the common good. People sabotage of all of even terrorism itself is an element of social trust, lack of social trust. High trust societies have lower criminality, they have lower rate of accident, they have lower rate of banditry and other social anomalies, because it's a society where people themselves help to fill the gap where there's no government, because they understand there's a sense in which everybody kind of trusts the government and trusts public institutions, and therefore invest in protecting public order. I think that's really where we are not yet.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about filling the gap, but let's talk about the credibility gap between what the president is asking and what leaders are actually doing. The messaging emphasizes sacrifice, but many Nigerians, of course, feel like the elites are not making any sacrifice whatsoever. It's still the appeals going to the everyday Nigerians, asking them to have more patience, be more sacrificial when we're all stretched at this point. At what point are we going to see the elite or the political class doing what they're asking Nigerians to do?
Well, I think it's only when Nigerians are willing to punish them for not doing what they themselves are doing. Okay, so I think these political leaders already know that Nigerians don't believe them. I think they don't even believe themselves. So you're going to see all of them talk about governors, president, everybody talk about sacrifice. They don't sacrifice anything. Actually, they steal more and more, even more than they need to steal. Look at the stories around, whether it's Malami, whether it's another person who is facing trial. People are talking about 200-something billion. People are talking about tens of houses that people build for themselves. Look at the former Auditor General or Candidate of the Federation, where he was on trial. The same story. Look at the police chiefs themselves, when they go for trial. So I think that the society has come to a point where Nigerian citizens have no regard for official messaging. And Nigerian officials know that nobody believes them, but they have to say this. So at what point, when they see that leaders themselves, first, are committed to the well-being of the people, when they see that the driver of policy and program is not politics, but well-being of the people, when the people begin to see that those who govern them live every day like them, move around like them, their children are in schools. I mean, if you look all over the world, all stable, advanced democracies, one of the hallmarks is the leadership are middle-class people. Only outliers, really, are outside the middle class. So people go to the same schools, their wives go to the same hospitals, go to the same markets, work in the same offices. So there's a sense in which they have a skin in the game. They really, when they talk about inflation, they feel it. So they can commit to fighting. When they talk about high cost of health, they feel it, because they also spend their own salaries and allowances to finance health. But when you are living big at the cost of the public, billions and millions of naira, then you cannot have the audacity, the presence of mind to ask people to sacrifice when you're not even doing the basic that citizens are doing. So I think that the message is a mismessaging, and Nigerians know it, they don't believe it, but they can't do anything to stop these officials from making this proclamation every period, every Christmas, Easter, Salah, or what other public occasions offer itself. So that's really routine, and nobody really cares about them, and they themselves are not under any illusion that citizens are really paying attention.
And in the message, he also thanked God for the opportunity to serve looking back over the last 2 years of his administration, or maybe even just over the last year, would you say that the Tinubu administration has moved closer to the greater Nigeria that the president described, or have the daunting challenges he mentioned before become just that more entrenched?
Well, to be fair, I would say that the government can claim that they have had some bold reforms. I mean, they talk about those reforms, but I disagree with the objectives and the nature of those reforms. But if they work, and somehow in the next 2 years, this economy is bubbling, middle class welfare is high, poverty is low, inequality is low, then we can say maybe they are right. But at this point, the general opinion is that they are failing in delivering on the two key essentials: economic well-being of the people and the notion of security of the people. But again, back to his thanking God, and he talked about he being a symbol of God, which is true. But as a prince of Nigeria, we're religious people. He's a symbol of God. But the question is, I also advise the prince to read 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 7, where Solomon asked for wisdom and knowledge to govern these people. And God was pleased that he asked for wisdom. Why? Because Solomon showed that he cared so much for the welfare of the people that he wanted wisdom. So I would ask Mr. President to be like Solomon, to have only the overriding passion for the welfare of Nigerians. And if he has that passion, God will give him the wisdom, the knowledge, and God will bless him as he blessed Solomon. So leaders should know that what pleases God, since we're in a period of spirituality, that what pleases God is leaders' care, overriding passion for the well-being of the people. That's what Solomon exhibited. God said he could have asked for money, good health, everything. He said, look, I just want wisdom to govern well. That is what it is.
And on that profound note, we'd like to thank you for your robust analysis. As always, Dr. Sam Amadi, many thanks for joining us here on Newsday.